Welcome to the second episode of Art with Aura podcast. Today's guest is Hector Garcia. Hector, I invited you because I thought you have a very unique perspective to share with my audience. You were born in Mexico, you got your law degree in San Diego, you practiced real estate for some time in Miami, and most importantly, you ran a successful art gallery in Wynwood at its heyday. So in 2011, Jack London III suggested you open an art gallery. You thought the idea was ridiculous, but you did it anyways. So let's start with the first question. How can artists successfully grow their social media presence in the art world?
Yeah, I think any artist just really needs to understand that social media and as an artist is kind of like a voyeur project, right? But people need to look at social media, especially something like Instagram, where most art lives for artists, it's a window into your process. So posting on a regular basis, what you're doing, how you got started, how the genesis of a single piece, the process, every layer of paint, every sketch. If you're an artist that uses digital means initially to create a rendering for their artwork, where there's a lot of artists that do that, stencil work and stuff like that, then people need to understand that process. What program are you using to create these stencils? And even artists, they create their artwork on the screen or through programs, and then they project it against the wall, right? What is that process? How do they go about that? What's the impetus to that artwork? And not only the artwork, but the collection itself. And then consistency is king, right? You can't just say, okay, I get this from a lot of artists, that they would say something like, oh, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. No. In social media, people, especially artists, need to remember that social media is never a direct reflection of who the artist is, but rather a projection of who your audience wants you to be, right? So the more that you post, the more you get to understand through analytics what your audience wants to see. If they want to see more of you creating the artwork, then that's what you should post. If they want to see more of you doing live events where you're, covered in paint, creating the artwork in public, then that's what you should post. But a lot of artists think, oh, it's if I post once a month, and because I'm so amazing that everyone will love me and I'll get 1 million views. No, it's about posting every single day, consistency, knowing what your audience wants to see. And then just like Drake said, you got to give them what they want.
What are some practical steps the artist can take to break into the gallery scene?
Yeah, so actually that's on the Instagram website, right? It actually tells you if you want optimal growth, you need to post 3 reels a day and 7 stories a day. I'm not going to say that that's impossible. It is difficult. But if you're posting, let's say, 1 reel a day and 3 stories a day, which is extremely manageable, shouldn't take you more than about 10 minutes a day to do, then that should work fine initially, until you really get to understand the demands that, to really succeed in social media, what that requires, and then start posting twice a day. If you think about it, once you master the art of posting, it shouldn't take you more than like 10 minutes. So if you can invest 20 to 30 minutes a day, you'll see the numbers will be staggering. They'll be much bigger than if you were to post once a week, twice a week. On a daily basis, 1 reel a day, and if you can, optimize it by posting 5 to 7 second reels. Those are amazing. So I just did a class 2 weeks ago where I showed 12 people how to post 5 to 7 second reels. And the third or fourth post of one of the students went to 1.4 million views. And everybody that did their homework and posted, within 6 posts, their interaction rate increased by 300% minimum. So 5 to 7 second reels are key to social media.
Can we talk a bit about collaborations? And what are the good ways of collaborating between artists? And how can artists, through collaborations, enhance their reach in social media?
Yeah, so collaborations are fantastic. A lot of people, and there's different forms of collaboration. The easiest form of collaboration is through, again, we kind of go back to social media because, that's kind of the world that I exist in. And if you go and you hit up about 10 or 15 artists and say, hey, on Instagram, hey, I'd love to do a collab with you. Obviously, you're looking for an artist that has more followers than you, right? That's what you're always looking for. But you have to offer value. So you have to say, hey, listen, I have this really great studio, or I know this really great wall that we can, do a really cool collab that nobody knows about. I have a drone, I can do some aerial shots. You have to offer something in return. What you want to do is you want to collaborate with an artist that has more followers than you do. That way you can get some of the followers to migrate over to your account, right? That's the easiest way. I had one artist that did this fantastic thing that he was a muralist. And this was around about 2015, 2016. And he went all around the US in his van, just painting different walls, rural areas where you would never really see graffiti, or you would never see his kind of graffiti or his kind of murals. And he went all over. He did it that summer for 3 months. He gained like 80,000 followers just those 3 months, just by creating artwork all over the US in rural areas. And it was just him and his van and his artwork. And his brushes and his spray cans, super cool. Local Cuban guy. And now, a couple years later, because of all that, galleries were asking him to be part of their shows. They were asking him to, be in scope in these other shows. So collaboration doesn't necessarily have to be just with an artist, but with your environment, right? Mm-hmm. Understanding your environment, understanding what's required of you in order for you to grow. Other collaborations may be with brands, right? And that takes a little time. Always understand that bigger brands, create their budget or have their budget set by April. So your submission to any big brand needs to be done latest by September of the prior year, because it's all red tape. If you want your money or you want your collaboration by April, which is when they make their decisions, submission needs to be in by September latest. So that's really important. So there's different levels of collaboration, different entities of collaboration, but understanding that, remember, all great art never came from individual. They always came from collectives. So great art or great artwork has always been a product of collaboration. It has never been a product of a single individual's work or vision. Collaboration is extremely important on any level. Brands, galleries, artists, even collectors, where you can say, hey, I'll do your wall for free for your kids. And all of a sudden, this big collector just hired you, right, to do a mural in their home. And so those are really great ways. And listen, and if you don't have anyone to collaborate and you're a bit of a hermit, you know what you have? You have the streets. So understand the world is your canvas. So collaborate.
What strategies can artists use to sell the work through social media?
There's a bunch of, I don't know every single app that you can place your artwork on, but there's 4 or 5 big ones. The whole thing is, and you could also sell your artwork on your Facebook Marketplace, which you can connect to your Instagram, and you have shoppable posts. Now, here's where I would begin as a young artist. A lot of people don't know, but if you create an Etsy account and you're creating your artwork, you can take high-res photos of your artwork and sell them as digital pieces through Etsy. And you're selling them for $3, $5, $10. And they're not NFTs. Don't give yourself any illusions. NFTs require non-fungible tokens. They require some sort of minting with a coin. So you're not creating NFTs. Without the coin, there is no NFT. You just have a digital piece of work, right? But you can create these digital pieces of work, and you know what? Send them out into the world through Etsy. $5, $6, $7. I know an artist that makes 6 figures a year just by selling $3 to $7 digital images on Etsy. The internet has so many platforms for you to sell your artwork, whether it's on Amazon through original work, or whether it's on Facebook through just your Instagram channel, or Etsy. There's other platforms that you can make NFTs. Digital currencies. There's digital currencies that cost you fractions of pennies that you can mint your work with if that's the route that you want to go. But there's so many platforms right now where you can sell your artwork, whether it's original, whether it's print to order, right? Also, that can be done through Etsy, Shopify as well. And there's so many avenues where even if no one's ever heard of, there's someone called the eBay artist who last year made $480,000 last year just by selling her artwork on eBay. It's created so many avenues of sale, and there's so many platforms. But my suggestion is that you start small and you start with something like Etsy. right? You would take high-res images of your work, or if you're the kind of artist that creates your artwork digitally first and then you put it on a canvas or you put it on some sort of traditional platform, totally fine. But if you create some sort of digital work, put it on Etsy, just put it out into the ether. Let's see what happens. You never know. All of a sudden you get a brand that buys your image and now they can use it for whatever they want, right? But now that brand puts it on some sort of magazine or some sort of advertising platform, and you as the artist gets immediate recognition because this brand just simply took your image and just blasted it out. Don't think that, because a lot of artists think, oh no, it's mine. The image is mine. The work is mine. It's not. Artwork is meant for the world. It's not meant for you. It's meant for the world. And if people don't understand it, then that's their problem. But there will be people that will. There will be people that will appreciate it. And you're never going to find them by simply trying to say that artwork is mine, right? It's got to be released. Your talent wasn't made for you to just keep in the closet. It was made for you to exercise into the world.
How can artists use digital markets to sell their work effectively?
Yeah, I mean, so it goes back to, it's kind of like it's a ladder, right? First, open up an Instagram account and just start posting. And as your account grows organically, then open up your Facebook marketplace. Start selling original pieces. Understand also, don't price yourself out, right? Of markets just because you think it's crazy, your artwork is amazing. Also, a big thing with a lot of young and emerging artists is that they spend too much money on their artwork and then they have to recuperate it. And they use like 3x, 6x the amount that they spent, and they're like, well, I should have that back. That's what my artwork is worth, and it's not. The artwork is like real estate and cars. It's what the market deems it to be. I remember we had this artist, he was a photographer, and his brother came to the gallery. He said, I want my brother's pieces in here. And I said, yeah, sure, they're amazing. These like 6-foot photographs, And I said, what's your brother's name? And he told me, I can't remember the guy's name, And he said, I said, how much do you want for these photographs? They're beautiful. And he's like, well, we want $3,000 per photograph. I started laughing at him, and he just like looked at me really seriously, and he's like, what are you laughing at? We spent like $900 in just producing these photographs. I said, well, that's ridiculous. Your brother doesn't have a name. He's a nobody. There's no one's going to pay $3,000 for this, and the only place that this is going to hang after this is going to be your home, because no one's going to buy it. And then he's going to be really angry because he didn't get what he wanted out of it. You spent the money in producing these and marketing these, and you're not going to get any money back. And all of a sudden, his talent, which is obvious, the only place where it's going to be exhibited is in a home that no one will see. So you guys have to be smart about this. I told them, you should be making smaller photos. You shouldn't be printing on metal, for example, regular canvas or photographic paper, metallic photographic paper that it's like 1/20th of this price and accomplishes the exact same thing. And a $600, $500 price point is achievable and easily sellable versus a $3,000 price point that no one's going to see and no one's going to buy. So you have to be smart about how much money you're putting into your artwork, right? But once you're there, Facebook Marketplace is a great place. You can go from there, take high-res photos of your image, of your artwork, and your iPhone is more than enough. Obviously, the right lighting is proper. But you do that, you start selling them on Etsy, you start selling them on Shopify. You can even start, if you want, sell them to different digital companies that will put it on stuff like this. They'll put it on T-shirts. There's a really cool YouTube video on how to create a T-shirt company that's cut to order, and you can put any image you want on it. You can put all your artwork on T-shirts and start selling it through T-shirts, and it's all cut to order. There's no money up front that you have to put up. They produce the shirt for like $7 to $10. You sell it for $29. You make the profits and you fund your artwork. And all you did was put your artwork on a T-shirt. There's a bunch of different platforms. Obviously, you want to Google these. YouTube is a really great resource that will show you how to sell your artwork on digital platforms. And then once you're there, then, there's 3 or 4 big apps where you can put your artwork on there and sell it. But Amazon, Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, shoppable posts, Etsy for digital, Shopify for digital. There's 100 different ways that anyone can sell their artwork. There is no reason right now that as long as you work hard on your artwork that you can't make money on it. You just have to understand, again, what's required for you to be on these digital platforms, these physical platforms where you sell your artwork physically. And don't be afraid to, all the artists do it, where you can print on the canvas, right? Your artwork can sell for like $2,000, $2,500, but then you sell smaller pieces, printables, 200, 100. The whole thing is to create the volume, create the buzz, right? And then once you do that, and this is not from one day to the next, but once you do that, now a lot of people know your work, but now you have like your work on 20 different platforms. So it's so accessible, and all of a sudden you go from a starving artist to buying yourself a Lambo if that's what you want, because you have so many places where you're selling your artwork. So yeah, I mean, digital, physical, galleries, always remember that everything requires a little research, right? So go on Google as a young artist, just Google as a young artist, emerging artist, where can I sell my artwork online?
What tips do you have for the artist to create engaging social media content that resonates with the audience?
So I had a friend of mine named Stefan, a very good-looking guy, and he comes to me about 4 or 5 months ago, and he says, "Hey man, I can't sell any of my artwork online." And I'm like, okay. And it's abstract. Abstract work is not easy to sell, right? Because I think it takes a more sophisticated mind to understand abstract work. And he says, he's like, "What do I do, man? I need to sell some artwork, man. Otherwise, I got to go get a job." I'm like, no jobs. Artists don't work. And he says, "What do I do?" I said, "Lift up your shirt." He's like, "What?" I said, "Lift up your shirt." He's like, "What are you, a doctor?" And I'm like, no. Lift up your shirt. He lifts up his shirt. He's got a six-pack, this guy. And I said, "Okay, from now on, I want you to do all your artwork shirtless." And he's like, "That's crazy." I said, "Trust me." 3 months later, he goes from having 1,500 followers to 23,000 followers. He sold $26,000 worth of artwork, right? Mostly to gay men. What do you care? And this was like 4 or 5 months ago. Today, actually yesterday, he calls me and he says, "Hey man, I sold another like $20,000 worth of artwork." I'm like, let me take a look at your Instagram. For the past 5 months, the man has saved so much money in laundry bills because he doesn't wear a shirt on Instagram. Understand your platform. I'm not telling you to over-sexualize yourself, but all the artists that are women, they wear a little Lululemon tights when they're, doing their artwork. Nothing wrong with that. You get a little eye candy with the eye candy, which is the artwork, right? Understand, hey, this is what I have to do to get a little bit more attention, right? Now, if you're not the kind of artist that likes to sexualize themselves or show a little skin, totally fine. Then you need to do volume posting. You need to do 3 basic subject matter when posting. Number 1, the materials that you require to create the work. Number 2, the process. So a really great or popular post is a time lapse of your artwork. Just put your phone on a tripod, put time lapse, and create your work and let it record you. You moving around your studio, getting the paint, putting it on the canvas. If you're using an easel, mixing the paint, the whole thing, the whole entire process. And then obviously your finished product, right? So if you do nothing but post the genesis of your work and the materials, the process and the finished product, then you post that once a day, every 3 days, and people understand that that's what they're expecting when they see your account, that'll be a really nice beginning to create a good fan base and a good follower base for you to start selling your artwork. So those are the 3 pieces of content that I would suggest every single artist post. That'll get you started, and then your audience will determine what they want you to post as you look at your analytics moving forward.
How can artists optimize their social media profiles to make them more attractive and more engaging?
ChatGPT, it's the future. The only thing you need to do on ChatGPT is, for example, let's say you're let's say you're an abstract artist. Your prompt should be something like, "Hey ChatGPT," and let's say you're using Instagram, which is where every artist should exist. "Hey ChatGPT, create an artistic or an artist profile for Instagram. Optimize the profile by using hashtags, relevant and popular hashtags and keywords that will affect the Instagram SEO. Make it pithy, which means short but entertaining or clever. Make it clever, and make sure that you use an effective call to action as the last line on your bio that will drive followers and viewers to a site. And within seconds, ChatGPT will have everything you need. Oh, under 150 characters, because Instagram won't do a bio over 150. Sure. If you just use that prompt, you will have a really, really great bio for Instagram. Here's another quick tip. The first line, you should be some sort of motto. So for example, if you look at my Instagram, which is Hector Garcia's World, the first line that I have there, it says, make sure to be yourself unless you suck. But I have it in different fonts than the rest of my bio, so it really stands out. And you just go on Google and put Instagram fonts, bio font, and it'll give you a bunch of options. You go there, you put your motto on there, and it'll give you different fonts that you cut and paste. So it'll be eye-catching immediately. Emoji, hashtags, SEO keywords, and obviously the most important thing is a call to action. In other words, check out my artwork here with a little arrow pointing down, which should be pointing to your website or any other place that you want to drive traffic to. And then that's super important for any artist or anyone running a business.
What role does storytelling play in social media marketing?
Super important. People don't want some sort of bland posting, right? Or a posting that doesn't make sense because it's kind of everywhere. They want you to tell a story. Where did you start? How did you start? Why did you create these things? And then how are you creating them? Understand that if you want to be a serious artist, a lot of emerging artists, when they would come to me, they say, oh, I've got these 4 paintings. And I'm like, yeah, so what? What are 4 paintings? I sell collections, not individual pieces of art. And each collection should be between 12 to 17 pieces. And you should tell a story from the first piece to the last piece. Each collection is a story.
How can artists use analytics to improve their social media strategy?
So for me, analytics, my motto with analytics is, Drake, right? You got to give them what they want. So I always take a look at analytics. A really big thing with analytics is the average view time on a per post basis, right? So there's general analytics when you go on your profile on Instagram. It's called the professional dashboard, right? You can see if your content over the past month has been resonating, whether your followers are increasing, your post views are increasing, your interaction rate, which is your comments and likes, shares and saves per ratio per follower count. So for example, if you have 1,000 followers and your posts are averaging, let's say, 25 likes, 5 comments, 5 shares, and 5 saves, that would be something like 15, 25, 40. So you have, so you're getting 40 interactions per post. You're at a 4% interaction rate. The average interaction rate on Instagram is between 1 to 3%. Okay. So at 4%, you're actually above average, right? Now, where you really want to be, where your content is resonating, is at above 10%. That's when you know. Because you have to understand, Instagram will only show your immediate content to 10% of your followers. That's it. So if you have a 10% interaction rate, that means you're doing really well. And understanding that the first 1 to 2 hours of any given post are the most critical will help you also understand that the first 3 seconds of any post is extremely critical. So the average viewer will look at any given piece of content for an average of 4 to 7 seconds. So what does that tell you? The average content that you should be creating should be between 4 to 7 seconds. And if you guys are out there creating 20-minute content, you are doing nothing for yourselves because no one's watching it. It's very rare that you're going to get someone to watch your content that long. So looking at your analytics is super important. Not just your professional dashboard, but looking where it says view insights. When you go to every single post, you're going to see in blue view insights. Click on that, scroll down, look at your average watch time, right? Another super important thing is going to say initial plays, and underneath it's going to say repeat plays, right? If you have, let's say, 100 initial plays and you only have 10 replays, that means your content is not resonating. But if you have that about above 40, 50%, right? So let's say if you have 100 views, initial plays, but then underneath that you have 50 replays, that means your content is resonating. So Understanding your analytics, what they're trying to tell you, will determine the kind of content that you should be creating or that your audience is looking for you to create. So it's extremely important that you look at all that. Again, YouTube is king with knowledge. If you don't understand your analytics, go on YouTube. How do I look at my analytics to understand what kind of content I should be creating? Right? If you can't find that on Google, go to YouTube, go to Google. Right? Analytics, super important. 99.9% of the clientele that I service never look at their analytics. It's terrible, because then I end up screaming at them that how can you not look at your analytics?
What are some effective ways to build and maintain community on social media?
That's a combination of things. The first thing is obviously networking, right? If you're an artist, whether you're in Kentucky or you're in Miami, New York, or somewhere in the middle of nowhere, understand that there's always an art appreciating community. And if there isn't one, start one, if that's what you want. And if nobody shows up, then you need to move out of town. Go somewhere where there's an artistic community. Networking, physically networking, get in your car, go to art events, meetup, Eventbrite, Facebook groups, right? All these are keys to networking with artists, gallerists, collectors, people that control the gateway to the artistic world. A lot of people don't know. 85% of art dealers is based on nepotism. That means 85% of the people that sell artwork or the gatekeepers to artwork is because they have family members that have been in that business for ages, right? You're not talking about some newbie that's like, hey, I really want to get in here. Car salesmen don't work in the art world. It doesn't work. You have to be presentable. You have to, you have to know art. So if you don't understand that, it's because you haven't networked with enough people that can possibly sell your artwork or represent you somehow, right? Get out there and network. Understand. Take a shower. Don't show up stinky, right? Use a colonia, a little perfuma, get out there and shower when you go to an art event. Now, you can look scruffy and you can get away with it because you are an artist. Totally fine, but make sure that your clothing was washed the night before or something, right? And for God's sakes, at least, put your shoes in the laundry or something, They have shoe cleaner, right? I remember one time this artist shows up into my gallery and he has a guitar and he's like, oh man, I can, I'd like to play in your gallery, during the art walk, because this is Wynwood where they had the art walk, that era. And he comes in, man, and this guy is just smelling all sorts of nasty. And I'm like, bro, first of all, you need to sit over there, bro. Good Lord. First of all, I said, and this guy, I don't know when was the last time he showered, but I've been playing the guitar for 30 years. And I'm like, let me take a look at your guitar. His guitar had BO. I wanted him out as quickly as possible. Yeah. But I'm open-minded, I can do this. And so I'm like, all right, let me give this guy a chance. And I said, hey guy, okay, you're an artist. Let me see some of your artwork. So he shows me some of his artwork. I didn't think it was up to par. And I said, okay, you want to play guitar? Let's see you play guitar. Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I said, wait a second. You're asking to come in and be an artist in my gallery, whether it's through music or traditional means, and you can't perform for me? Yeah. I said, give me your sticky guitar because I'll play a song for you right now. That's a really big thing. So understanding, how to present yourself to gallerists, how to present yourself to collectors, other artists, even presenting yourself to other artists, because artists are very peculiar people. They're very emotionally charged. So if you say the wrong thing, forget about not only collab that you can do with them tomorrow, forget any collab that you'll be able to do with them 150 years from now, because they'll remember that you made them feel a little inappropriate for like 2 seconds. So go in there with a positive attitude. Don't be emo, right? Go in with a smile. I know it could be uncomfortable initially, but networking is super, super important, right? Get out there. And that's the first way that you can network. The next way is through social media. Collab, reach out. If you're a bit of an emo person, start reaching out through social media. And then if you connect with someone, say, hey, listen, I'm going to this event, and they're, let's say, in the same city. I'm going to this event. Why don't we meet up there, right? So, create some sort of connection with people. If that's not your thing, then I mean, find another emo artist that doesn't like to socialize and see what kind of connection you can make from there. But understanding how to present yourself, even as an artist. Remember, guys, no matter how you want to cut it, this is a job. It's a job. And the thing is, when people work the 9 to 5s, they only have to do one interview. You have to do one interview every day. So understanding what's demanded of you for this sort of industry, because it is an industry, and it's a beautiful one if you can make it. It's not that nice if you can't, and it's not easy to make it, but there's plenty of people that have made a career out of it, and there's plenty of people that have flourished in this industry, and it's the most beautiful industry I have ever been involved in. So if you know what's demanded of you, how you can present yourself, networking, different avenues of networking, connections, that sort of thing, then you can have a career. I'm not going to say that you'll be the next, Jean-Michel Basquiat or, Degas or Picasso. That's next level. But there's plenty of people that have had careers for their entire lives, making good money, living, doing. Imagine that if someone told you, you can put your feelings on a canvas for the world to enjoy for the rest of your life. I'm like, where do I sign up? But it's not, it's easier to get a job than do that and succeed. But that doesn't mean that you can't succeed in it, but you just have to understand what's involved in the process.
How can our audience find you and connect with you?
Yeah, so the best way is just go on Instagram. It's at Hector Garcia's World. You can hit me up there. You can shoot me a DM. My email, it's my agency. It's rktragency@gmail.com. I'm not going to give you guys my private email because otherwise it'll be filled up and my website will crash. But there's my Gmail account. You guys can hit me up with any questions. Easiest way is through Instagram. And it's just Hector Garcia's World. And, ask me anything. I'm always an open book. I love helping artists. I believe that if you can make it in the art world as an artist, you're probably one of the most blessed people on the planet. It's not easy, but if you can do it, man, it is amazing. I cried when I sold my gallery. The only reason I sold it is because I'm a capitalist and someone offered me just an obscene amount of money. And I was like, okay. I remember the next day I was getting ready in the morning to go to my gallery and I was like, oh, I sold it. And I literally started crying. It was the best non-job that I've ever had in my entire life. And to be part of something like Wynwood during its heyday, to see the energy, to feel that energy, my door is always open. If anyone knows the name Gertrude Stein, right? She lived in Paris during the 1920s. It was the age of enlightenment, right, in Europe, where you had the art world, literature, art, music. You had, Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo going to Paris. You had, what's this guy from, the guy that used to live in Key West? What's his name? The author. Hemingway in the 1920s lived in Paris, and Gertrude Stein was this amazing author, and her policy was an open door policy. People like Picasso would go in and out of her house, get drunk there, and just fall asleep on the floor of her living room. I've always wanted to have that. I can't have that anymore, and that's a reality. It's a terrible reality that I live in because I could never do that. Mostly because I live in Pinecrest. I live too far for artists to go to my house. But my gallery was always like a Gertrude Stein gallery. All artists welcome. I had sponsorships from different alcoholic beverages. So there was always a beer waiting for you as an artist when you came in. There was always some good advice if I could give it to you. If not, I would literally call Greg Scheinbaum, who was my neighbor, and I'd had him on speed dial, who'd been in the art world for like 30 years. I'm like, hey, Greg, I have an artist here with a question. He's like, yeah, what's up? Always happy to help. My door is always open to any artists, any questions that they may have. In fact, I light up when questions are, or when I get questions for artists. I always want you guys to succeed. And it's a little easier than a lot of you think, but it's a little harder than a lot of you will realize. But it's a beautiful world, and I'm always happy to help anyone in it.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and listening to us. And until the next time.